The TV course has been really good because I've met a lot of people and I've worked with different cameras, lighting, and I can come in and just express myself with any ideas that I come up with. It really just gives me the creative freedom to do what I want. It's really great.
We cover script writing, lighting, editing, and camera work. The HND course has really built up my confidence. That really opened up into meeting new people as well as interacting with my classmates.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend this course to someone who's pursuing a career in the television industry, especially because you have so much creative freedom and you can kind of work in towards the aspects you want to pursue.
I wouldn't try and treat anyone differently because of the way they looked, but I would definitely think of them in maybe a slightly less positive way. Say, for example, my partner had put on a lot of weight and I find that less attractive. I don't think it's necessarily wrong, but I don't think it serves any purpose. Someone who is overweight can get help.
Society like teaches us that being slim or like having the normal standard for a body is like the way to go, but there's nothing wrong with being fat.
Personally, I don't find it offensive, but I can see why other people might find it offensive, or I can see why it might hurt people's feelings. It all sort of matters in how you portray the word and how you feel about your weight yourself, I think.
No. Like, if someone is trying to be offensive, then yes, obviously.
It's not offensive. I think that it's been made offensive by society. Like, it's just a word at the end of the day.
It is an offensive term. I think whenever anyone uses the word fat, they're kind of, referring to somebody in a derogatory way.
I like to, because I think it boosts confidence. If you say, oh, you've lost a bit of weight, it's definitely good.
I used to have a friend that had really bad anorexia, and that was because people bullied her for her weight. So if you are doing it in a malicious way, then yeah, definitely.
I think it's better to say to someone that they look better or they look happier or they look more confident rather than just comment on their weight that they've lost.
They could have lost weight in a really completely unhealthy way.
I had this really close friend for years and years and years, and when he came out of hiding, he was like really, really skinny.
Or like they could have gaining weight could be like someone's like a coping mechanism for someone.
And I was like, oh my God, you look so amazing, you've lost so much weight, how did you do it, how did you do it? So basically what I was doing was going, congratulations, depression's looking really good on you.
Especially with like Instagram and things these days, like they tried to push like the body positivity movement. People who fit the like body norm are like forcing themselves to like in weird positions to have like roles and stuff. Like when normal bodies have roles, but like some bodies are just naturally like that, they have roles.
Oh, you're wearing too much makeup. Well, it's probably because the person's got, dodgy skin underneath and they're self-conscious about it. But by pointing out that they wear too much makeup, you're kind of saying, we're aware.
Do you think you can be happy and fat?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, you can, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Society teaches us you need to be like skinny to be happy, but I don't think you do. As long as like you're comfortable in your body, then that's all that matters.
A fluency disorder is the interruption or repetition of a syllable or word. You see, speech impediments are actually more common than you may think, with 1 in 12 children having speech impediments, but 2/3 of this group will grow out of it. However, I'm 1 out of 100 adults who have stammers and who didn't grow out of it. There are two main reasons as to why children and adults have fluency disorders. Developmental stammering. This is the name for the typical speech impediment that young children have and most likely will grow out of. It happens in young children when their speech and language skills are developing quite quickly. A good way to describe it, it's almost as if their brain is moving too quickly and their mouths can't catch up with it. The second reason is a bit more complicated and unknown. Acquired or late onset stammering. Later in life, people can acquire a speech impediment due to a medical condition or change in the environment around them, such as a stroke, a head injury, a neurological condition, or emotional trauma. Stammering for some people can be a profoundly difficult element of their everyday lives, from having to speak up in class to buying a bus ticket. These simple interactions that people without a speech impediment may not even think about. However, these painless forms of communication can cause anxiety, with 50% of people with stammers having social anxiety. These social situations may seem meaningless for most people, but for those with a speech impediment, it can greatly impact their daily lives. Most often, children who suffer from speech impediments are usually bullied by their peers due to their stutter. This can lead to social isolation and low self-esteem. Most children will simply choose to not talk in order to avoid embarrassment or harassment. I remember as a kid when my speech impediment was at its absolute worst, I would always avoid social situations as well. Like, I wouldn't go to people's birthday parties, I wouldn't participate in classroom activities, and it makes me really sad because I missed out on so much. It's so heartbreaking to look back and think about the child version of myself where I was bursting with personality and creativity and excitement, but I physically had no way to express that, and I don't think people realised how difficult it really was for me and how much I really held back on who I was and the things I said, where I most of the times just didn't speak in most circumstances where I didn't feel very comfortable. Going from not being able to say my own name at all without struggle to where I am right now today in this moment, I can say for certain that I know that all the past versions of myself and the child version of myself would be unbelievably proud with what I can achieve in my everyday life now, which I used to worry about. But I know for certain that I'm so proud of who I am and how far I've come. Speech impediments aren't very straightforward, and they affect people in numerous different ways. Even in this documentary, I only really touched on stammers, which is one speaking disorder among so many more. No person deserves to feel so anxious over their speech impediment, and that communication, a fundamental aspect of humanity in our society, is a serious struggle. I learned an awful lot about stammers during the creation of this documentary, and my viewpoint on it has changed entirely. I realised I was viewing this issue from a very medical perspective, and I wasn't fully thinking about how this can mentally affect people and how it can affect every aspect of their everyday life. But I can understand fully now how this affects people. As a collective, there's a few simple things that we can do to make it easier for those who have speech impediments. In my opinion, the only advice I can really give is to just listen and to just be patient with the person. Allow the person to speak and to fully finish what they're saying. Creating a safe environment for communication is so much more valuable than people realise these days. At the end of the day, society can function without it.
Here we have the troll, a creature spawned from the deepest pits of hell for the explicit purpose of internet harassment.
Stupid. Hate you.
They call me Dragon's Bane, Hydra Slayer, Troll Hunter. I've been hunting all manner of filthy beasts for years now. Vampire, stake to the heart. Werewolf, cut up with silver. Cyclops, go for the eye. But trolls are tricky. Acid, fire seems to keep them down. But finding them, that's the real challenge. Now, trolls might be stealthy little ramps, but there's one place they gather. I could find a whole bunch of them. I will admit, even a mighty warrior like me fears that place. The most wretched hive of scum and villainy. The internet.
To find a troll, you must first seek its food supply. Here, we have Laura Bailey, voice actor and internet celebrity with a large and loyal fan base. In other words, the perfect target. Laura voiced the character of Abby in the video game The Last of Us Part 2. To keep it simple, partway through the game's story, Abby murders a fan favourite character. Now, Laura Bailey is a voice actor, not a designer, not an animator, and most importantly, not a writer. Trolls, however, have the ability to twist our human concepts of logic and reason to suit their own means. The amount of vitriol and spite they build up and launch at innocent targets would almost be impressive if it weren't so horrid. The troll's strongest power, however, is their anonymity. This imbues the troll with incredible confidence, knowing they will never have to face their target in real life. Because honestly, what kind of response might they expect after spewing filth such as this? Trolls feed exclusively on attention, and while it may take some time, they will, eventually, move on. So that's where we'll leave it be. Alone, screaming into the digital abyss.
Article from Film Stories that report the new figures from July 2020. More people have been buying digital film, while physical media is slowly dying. Let's talk to people who love and hate physical media to find out for ourselves. Why do you buy physical media? What's the main drive for you to buy physical media?
Well, I like physical media because I like to feel like I'm getting something for my money. So I think if you buy something, it's there in your hands and you can see it. And before we started recording, we were talking about some of the stuff behind me, which are in really nice box sets, and they come with art cards. And there's something about getting something for your money, which is why I don't really like downloads and things, because I don't feel like you particularly own it.
Everything went down tomorrow, internet, everything, and you wanted to watch your favourite series of whatever you want, then you've got the physical copy right there that you could just pop on and go, ooh, I fancy watching an entire series of this.
One of the things that has been more evident in more recent years, to me anyway, is that digital online streaming services and stuff, you never know when something's going to be taken away from you. You know, you could want to watch your favorite bit of media or listen to your favorite bit of media and then go to watch it because you knew it was on Netflix or Amazon Prime, and suddenly find out that the license has been withdrawn and it's not there anymore.
I think especially as we've seen in more kind of recent things, there's a lot of censorship that does happen occasionally on digital files because, you know, some actor has controversy or something, you know, there's a whole variety of many reasons that cause that to happen. And so when you have that continuing to happen as often as it does, and you have the physical version have it retain whatever it used to be like, then I think that makes it the physical one more appealing in that regard.
So we might already have it once or twice or even 3 times, but we still like to buy it again. What do you think makes stuff able to buy again? Do you think it's the new special features, new artwork? What makes you want to buy a season or an episode that you've already had maybe multiple times in your collection?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the best example for myself personally is the Doctor Who releases, because they really do seem to put the effort in. So the Blu-ray sets, they are beautiful. You open them up, they've got booklets, really gorgeous artwork. The steelbook's the same. I think I'm not a huge fan of steelbooks, but I love the Doctor Who ones because the artwork is just stunning. Like when you take it out of the box, it just looks absolutely gorgeous.
For me, I'm sort of a shill, so I'll sort of buy it even if it's, I mean, case in point of the Doctor Who steelbooks, which have no new features on them yet. I already own them, yet I'm buying them again because of nice artwork.
Does it give me anything additional from what I already own of the same thing? If it's a yes, then again, I'm sorry to answer like this, but it depends. So if the original thing, say for example, had an hour's worth of special features, and then the new thing had an hour and 5 minutes, so there's just an extra little bit of 5 minutes, then that's probably not enough. However, if it was to have some amazing new cover art, like you mentioned with the steelbooks or something, then that still wouldn't make me automatically buy it, even if I thought the cover art was really cool. What would make me buy it is I would probably weigh up whether I wanted to commit to something, if it was a long-term thing.
How has your perception of physical media changed over time?
I'm sort of, I've reached a point where my buying of media, I'm sort of an in-between stage in what I buy myself now. I used to be, at one point I'd buy everything that I wanted, and even if and then I'd have DVDs on my shelf which I hadn't watched for 10 years. But then I sort of went for a stage of, oh no, let's just get rid of it all, because I haven't watched these films in ages, and I went a bit too far and got rid of too much, and then I regretted it because I did find myself in a situation where I wanted to watch something and I didn't have it anymore.
Basically stopped buying physical media, apart from the occasional big special edition release of Lord of the Rings, because it's my thing. It's just so much easier. I mean, I went from having discs and boxes everywhere, and then I ended up switching to a DVD wallet just to save the space. But even that is just an extra thing where, you know, if you've got a TV or whatever and the thing's on it, then you don't have to get up. It's such a small thing, but even just getting up and putting the disc in, not having to do that.
From what we have found out today, I believe physical media isn't dying, but I think over time it will become a very niche thing to collect, but I don't think it will ever die out.
I've got a problem.
I'd like to thank you all for joining me today. If you all just want to go one by one and explain why you're here, start with you, Lucy.
You know what I hate? Cliffhangers. Because every single TV show and movie I've ever watched, there's a cliffhanger.
Hi, I'm Lucy, and I'm a cliffhanger addict. I think I noticed I had a problem when I realised my dog was actually related to me.
Right.
It's always like the very end, and it's obviously like, if it's the end, you don't know if it's coming back or not.
I am your father.
No.
Season 7 of Gilmore Girls ended in 2007, right? And they didn't know if season 7 was going to be the end. They didn't know if they were coming back for season 8 or not. So they all filmed the last episode of season 7 where Rory had graduated college and was ready to go out into the real world. And then months go by, and then they all get calls you didn't get picked up for season 7, for season 8. Sorry. Flash forward 9 years. 9 whole years, nearly 10 years after the original show ended. There's a reboot.
I am Mother Earth.
Okay.
I am the Lord of Hellfire. I am the world's famous poker face.
It's great. You get to see everybody again. It's emotional, funny, hilarious, all that. And then the last 4 words. Everybody else talked about the last 4 words. And nobody knew about them, apart from Amy Sherman Palladino and her husband, who wrote the show. So it was only them that knew. And then the last 4 words play. Rory and Lorelai, right?
I'm behind you.
What?
I'm a creature from the fourth dimension and I break all the walls. And if you really want to know who I am, I'm... Mum, what? I'm pregnant. What? And it's not like you know who the father is either. Like, it just ends.
An inmate had been put in a minor report in the morning. They were out for their hour's leisure at night and the inmate decided to stab the officer concerned. Officer Jackie Stewart saw the knife, he moved in, got the knife off of the inmate. When he turned round, there was 80 inmates standing looking at him. The entire hall was involved. Two of them were taken upstairs, put faced in under a bed, beaten badly with table legs. But so badly beaten they actually let him out on day one. He was significantly injured during that incident. Jackie then was taken up onto the roof space. It was a wooden roof at the time, full of slates. They broke through out into the roof. All the furniture from 4 floors was thrown down. There's no way the staff would be able to get up to Jackie in time. Because there's slates in the roof, nobody could get out from the outside either, because anybody trying to get up had slates thrown down on top of them. After a period of 4 days, Jackie had been held there. They put lighter fluid in his pocket, threatened to set him on fire. He was stabbed 3 times in the incident and beaten every day he was up there. In the early hours of the 5th morning, the SAS came into the complex, went up onto the roof, straight along, dropped stun grenades and gas into the space that Jackie was held. Jackie was then pulled out through the roof and he ran the whole length of the roof back to come down a ladder. The other SAS officers jumped in, grabbed the inmates concerned, dragged them downstairs. So in 6 minutes, the 4-day siege was all over. The SAS then disappeared out the back door, never to be seen again. That was the case over several, the 1980s and 1990s period. Significant riots in here. It was the only time that the SAS was used to end a domestic siege back in 1987. Designed for 208 criminals, 450 held in here. So you're looking at 2 or 3 people in a cell, which added to the overcrowding situation. Many actually used that as the excuse for the riots that took place. It really wasn't the case at all. As I say, hardened criminals, some of the most notorious people in Scotland were held in here. And it was just a powder keg for a long, long time waiting to erupt. The hardest part really was the 1980s and 1990s. Following that riot with the SAS, it did calm down significantly. A lot of the hardened criminals were moved back to the areas that they actually came from, meaning that a lot of the sex offenders were then introduced to the prison itself. Not so nice people to deal with, however a lot calmer personalities, and it calmed the whole prison down in general.
All I need is my bike and the truck. That's all I need. All I need to feel free. As you sit there at the top, staring down at the truck, you begin to feel the adrenaline kick in, even when knowing that if you make one mistake, it could go horribly wrong. But that was the excitement of it. Why do I do this, people ask. Easy. There is no better feeling than when you're on your bike with the wind in your face, storming through the forest, filled with adrenaline and excitement. I love challenging myself to the extreme, and what better challenge is there than this? I push myself to the limits, therefore when I complete a ride, the achievement feels even greater.
Problem part of our past. Dragged into our present.
Before you just brushed it off, like you didn't care, but there was a part of you that kind of did care.
Can't remember how old I was. I'd probably say about like 11 or something. And so we were celebrating Eid, which is like, you probably know what this is. And we were finished praying, and obviously when it's Eid, you dress up. And we were walking back to our car. Obviously we were in different clothes, and I remember this car zoomed past us and opened the window and screamed at us, shouting "Oh, hockey bastards!" And at that time I just laughed. I thought it was pretty funny, but you laugh, but you obviously know, you obviously think in deep down why is that even a thing?
Yeah.
Obviously I laughed at the time, but that's because I was with my cousin and stuff like that. But it's not something that you really, really find funny, if that makes sense. So you just laugh to kind of brush it aside.
Exactly, you just laugh to because if you didn't laugh, then it would be, I don't know, I suppose a bigger problem. If you just laugh it off, it's nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of just,
if you laugh it off, you kind of forget about it, move on.
You take it to heart, and they kind of win in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what, when you grow up, you kind of realize now.
Black Lives Matter! 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 Black Lives Matter!
Marches and protests have faded. The questions lie where the time has come and gone. The truth is, was this a stunt for people to look good, or was it from the heart? I don't know. Although I ask, have things really changed? With everyone so easily influenced by everything happening online, did some people jump onto this trend just to prove they aren't a racist? And after all, are we a racist country? Because we were.
What I hate has got to be spiders. They're just creepy. They've got like a Slender Man with their big legs, just skiting across the floor with their beady eyes and their little pincer things. If I saw a spider, I would leave. Just can't deal with them. If it was crawling towards me, then I would leave. Or go to the other side of the room and let someone else deal with it. Or get someone else to deal with it if there was nobody there. If spiders all had wings, no, I would leave. Just go somewhere else, build a bunker, just hide in it forever until they're gone. Because no, I don't really think there's any particular qualities that I don't like. Just the whole thing together. The legs, pincers, and then the eyes. And they have like 6 eyes or something. It's ridiculous. I was on holiday once in Sterling not that long ago. My stepdad threw a spider on me. Needless to say, I died there and then.
You think your stepdad likes you?
No. Well, I didn't know it was on me to begin with. I thought he did it as a joke. Like, you know, the empty hand thing. But no. It's on a joke. It was crawling towards me. I had to hold this watch about now. Probably. Just not there. I like now.
There's a saying you used to have. Trios, fish the best, and outfish the rest. And man, could he fish. For over 200 years, hard-working, thick-skinned men of Buckingham would venture out into the vicious North Sea, risking their lives every day to provide for their families and make ends meet. And this cycle still lives on to this very day. Fathers and sons, side by side, until one day the sons of their son will join that boat, braving the sea as their fathers and grandfathers have done for decades.
expectation, heritage, very history you can feel within the walls, bursting with age 4 times older than me. With words I've never said, places I've never been, and brave men I can no longer meet. However, I left this home with memories I honour. This place hasn't changed once as long as I've been alive. However, every time I'm down here, I'm always drawn to the one thing I used to co-pilot. Vessels outlive their original owners, but those skippers built the very foundations we live on from them. From pulling up my first lobster to rushing out late at night to see a wild orca. This boat now carries his memory and my own. After his death, his grandson Arthur James and other skippers founded the Harbour Committee, a charity used to keep the pier alive by hosting successful open days, bonfire nights and education days with the aquarium in the boat shed. Now with the new committee threatening the aquarium survival, skippers and villagers alike have taken up signs in protest in order to save it. The aquarium represents a new or modernised Buckenhaven, but the new committee is threatening both the future of the pier and also the skippers' livelihoods who have spent decades here doing what they love and what they know best. I now sit here my own man, and yet every time I'm down here, I still feel like it's 2007. I'm biding with Granny and Granda, helping build his creel so he could eat fish the rest. He carried on a long lineage of hardy bastards from my uncles to my mother, taking us now to me. His legacy is set in stone. Now it's my turn to honour it and make my own in his memory.
In 2019, there were 5,691 registered suicides in the UK. That equates to an average of 18 suicides per day in the UK alone. 1 in 4 people suffer from a mental health problem at some point in the year. However, this year has been different.
You must stay at home.
Das neuartige Coronavirus in China weiter aus.
You should not be meeting friends. You should not be meeting family members who do not live in your home.
Closing schools, shops, pubs, gyms, putting normal life on hold.
The feeling of uncertainty in jobs, schools, and future life has been on a lot of people's minds. Stress and anxiety levels have been at an all-time high. Being locked in with minimal contact to the outside has had a massive impact on a lot of us, made us feel alone, sad, and in some extremes, depressed. This has unfortunately pushed a lot of people over the edge, to the point where they take their own lives. The increase of a mental health issue in a teenager is huge. 1 in 5 people suffer from a mental health issue. A lot of this is blamed on social media and the social pressure that comes with it. However, one thing that isn't always taken into consideration is school, and the pressure to succeed, whether it be from parents or teachers. With the mix of all these pressures and the possibility of family issues, I'm not surprised that this figure is so high, because having to cope with so much at such a young age is very hard.
Yeah, they're always quite difficult jobs to go through. You know, we do attend, I would say, more in recent years than from years ago, and it's always a very sensitive subject when we do attend these cases, especially when there's families and things involved, and they're also present at such incidents. And as I say, I would say definitely there is an increase over the last sort of 5 years.
Do you think COVID's had an impact? Have you seen a slight rise over the last year of the lockdown?
I would say definitely COVID has had an increase, not just with suicides, but people having suicidal thoughts, etc., through maybe job loss or family issues and things like that. Yeah. Definitely.
You can definitely see it among a lot of people. Just not being able to socialise with people has had a massive impact on them. But do you think the NHS are doing enough to support mental health?
I think there is support networks out there. However, going back, I've been in the service for nearly 30 years, where there was very little support. So there has been more support put in now, but because there's such an increase in suicides, I don't feel there is maybe enough support, or people know the correct places to get the support that's required.
While depression among women is twice as prevalent, the male suicide rate completely outweighs the female suicide rates. Suicide is the single biggest killer in men under the age of 45. One factor could be due to toxic male masculinity, pretty much meaning men are strong, men don't cry, making it very hard for men, especially young men, to come out with any mental health struggles in fear of people not caring because of their gender. 19% of women who are struggling with mental health did not reach out for help, compared to the 30% of men who didn't reach out. Unfortunately, mental health isn't talked about enough, and isn't taught enough in schools. For such a serious topic, it's not taken seriously, and people self-diagnose themselves with depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, purely because they feel sad. This makes it a lot harder for people who are actually struggling to reach out due to the absolute mockery made of mental health. Social media hasn't helped in trying to get people to take mental health more seriously. The use of the acronym KYS, which stands for Kill Yourself, has had a growing popularity among internet trolls, which is absolutely disgusting, and the fact people can just chuck it around like it means nothing needs to be stopped, and that starts by educating the youth. By educating our children the deeper meaning to these phrases and words and the outcomes they can lead to, we wouldn't be able to stop, but we could immensely lower the numbers of suicide due to online bullying. Keep an eye on your friends, family, and even strangers. Mental health is a silent killer, and you never know when it could take someone from you. It's okay not to feel okay. Reach out and talk, because nobody wants you becoming a statistic.
We
all know the names Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, and Jeffrey Dahmer. Hearing those names brings a discomfort to many. But what made these killers do what they did? And what's stopping you? Parents across the world will argue that it's the violent and sexual video games that you were exposed to as a child, adamant that these small details will alter the way your life goes. They believe that killing in a game will lead you to killing in the real world. However, scientists say that it's down to 3 main points. The first is genetics. People with a high MAOA gene are more likely to become extremely violent, and in some cases, killers. Family is also a key factor in the making of a killer. Children around violent people and left in stressful situations are more likely to become violent or aggressive in the future. Yet children who have the MAOA deficiency and are left exposed to this kind of stress creates the perfect breeding ground for a killer. However, some people just snap. Stress gets to them, or mental illness sets in. Most people imagine what it'd be like to kill, what it would feel like. Would you feel guilty? Would you do it again? Would you turn yourself in? But these are just thoughts. You would never get to this point. You sit and wonder what point people must be at to snap like this. You consider what would push you to this point. A hard breakup? A bad day at work? Maybe just the weather is bad. You wonder if you would regret it. Did they deserve it? Did it feel good? How would you cover it? Was it an accident? Maybe it was self-defense. But these are only thoughts. Thoughts you would never act on. Right?
I had some very intense suicidal thoughts, and I could very easily not be here today. My mental health hasn't only affected me, it affected my parents.
But when you actually told Dr. Joshi that you felt suicidal, when I thought you had, when you actually confessed feeling that way, that was a real big slap in the face.
I think particularly when I was travelling a lot, the hard part was that Mum was having to deal with it on her own. And I used to get Mum on the phone when I was somewhere else, you know, quite frustrated because you'd not been able to go to school or whatever, and you were both trying to deal with it on your own and I wasn't there. That's probably one of the hardest things for me.
It affects my relationship.
It's made our relationship quite an indoors relationship, you know? We haven't been able to go on holidays together. The first time we actually spent a night together was actually very recent.
It affects my education. Throughout my years at academy, I
managed to get my attendance down to 6%. I say that like it's a good thing, but it's not. It has basically ruined my life. Basic things that people find easy are actually really difficult for someone like me. I sometimes struggle to even get out of bed or get showered or brush my teeth. I sometimes struggle to even eat, which is weird because I like food. I'm a fussy eater, but I like food. A good example of doing a basic thing that I would usually do and not being able to because of anxiety is the other week I was driving into college and I had barely left Bankery. And I ended up turning around and going home because I couldn't handle it. I was certain that I was going to throw up and I just had to go home. So I ended up missing college that week.
It stops you doing a lot of things, and I can tell that makes you like very upset yourself. Just think it's a shame, you know, because yeah, you have so much like potential and you have so many things you want to experience, but it just puts a stop to everything.
And it's not all bad. I have happy days where the worries somehow fade away. And I have memories with the most amazing friends that I will never forget. And I have adorable nieces and a nephew who I absolutely adore. And because of all these people, it gets easier for me to handle my anxiety and depression.